Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on an exploration of a concept that underpins so much of how we see the world, yet is, well, maybe fundamentally misunderstood by a lot of us.
That's right. We're talking about probability.
Exactly. Probability. We use it all the time, don't we? Checking the weather, assessing risks. But what is it actually? Our mission today is to unpack a really thought-provoking perspective, one that challenges how we usually think about it and reveals probability's true nature as a powerful tool, really, for managing our own knowledge and dealing with uncertainty. The title of our deep dive today is Probability, a Measure of Observer Uncertainty. And the insights we're digging into, they come straight from the writings of Harish.
Harish, yeah.
Harish is described as a lifelong learner, someone with a real passion for reflection and exploration across, well, a fascinating range of fields. Cybernetics, systems thinking, lean, statistics. He shares perspectives on all of these.
A real deep thinker.
Absolutely. And he's also an active member of CyberSins. That's a really vibrant community, offering exclusive resources, books, podcasts, forums for people keen on these sorts of complex, interconnected ideas.
Right.
So yeah, we're drawing from some really rich thinking today, straight from someone who, lives and breathes this stuff.
And it's important to say, this particular view on probability that Harish articulates, it has really profound implications. It's not just some academic footnote or, a statistical detail.
Right.
This way of looking at it fundamentally shifts how we think about making decisions, really. It changes how we interpret information when we get it, how we talk about what we know, and maybe even more importantly, what we don't know. And ultimately, it kind of sets the stage for using probability much more practically, more effectively, more rationally in our everyday lives, whether that's personal stuff or professional.
Okay, let's unpack this core idea then, because it really is the foundation, isn't it? Harish puts his central argument very clearly. He says, probability is not an intrinsic property of events that evolves over time.
Right.
It is a measure of an observer's uncertainty that changes as the observer gains new information. That feels quite different from how many of us instinctively think about it.
It really is. And that's a crucial place to start because it directly challenges, like you said, a very common intuition, almost ingrained. You know, I think many of us probably subconsciously believe that an event, say, the result of a football match or maybe whether a particular stock will go up inherently has a certain probability. Like it exists out there in the world.
Well, yeah, like it's baked in somehow.
Exactly. Independent of anyone looking at it or thinking about it, we sort of treat it like it's a fixed characteristic of the event itself, like, I don't know, the color of a car or the height of a building. Yeah. But Harish is saying quite clearly, no, that's not it. It's not like that stock has a, 70% chance of going up property stamped on it. That number, that percentage, it isn't something out there waiting to be found, like some fixed feature of reality. And when he says probability doesn't evolve over time, he isn't saying the event itself is changing or morphing. Like an election happening on a certain date, that event is fixed in time.
Right.
What he's clarifying is that the event itself is singular. It's a unique happening. What does change over time is our perception of its likelihood, our state of knowledge about whether it will happen or is happening or crucially has happened.
Okay, so it's about us.
It's entirely about our evolving understanding, our information gain, not some fluctuating property of the event itself.
Okay, to really nail this down, Harish uses a brilliant example, doesn't he? The championship match. Super relatable.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So let's picture this. You're a huge fan, really invested in your team. It's, say, early 2025, the season's about to kick off. And based on everything you know, the players, the coach, how they did last year, maybe even just your gut feeling from following them.
All that stuff, yeah.
You assign a 35% probability that they'll win the championship match later that year. That's your best guess, right? Your most informed assessment given everything you know right now, your current state of knowledge. Okay, now fast forward. The season plays out, the final happens, and they win. They actually do it. Confetti, trophy, the whole thing in 2025.
Victory.
Exactly. Now, Harish points out, very simply, after they've won, you don't talk about a 35% chance anymore. Not for that specific event. Why?
Because you know the outcome.
Precisely. Your uncertainty about that particular outcome, the 2025 championship win, is gone. It's not a probability question for you anymore. You know they won. You saw it. You celebrated it. You have the clear, undeniable information.
In this example, it seems simple, but the implication is huge. The event itself, your team winning in 2025, has not changed. It's a single fixed thing that happened. It's history now.
Right.
It's not like the win itself was somehow 35% likely, and then, poof, when they won, it magically became 100% likely. That implies probability is some kind of property of the event.
Which Harish says it isn't.
Exactly. The event does not have a probability that flows through time. Your favorite team winning the 2025 championship does not possess an inherent 35% chance property that somehow transforms into a 100% chance property when they claim victory.
What has changed, as Harish puts it so well, is simply your information about it. That probability you assigned wasn't about the term or the game itself. It was a reflection of your mind, your knowledge, your uncertainty. It's subjective about the subject, the observer. There, Harish digs into this using the term epistemic state. Sounds a bit formal, maybe.
A little bit, yeah.
But it just means your state of knowledge, right? So probability, in this view, it expresses what you know and, crucially, what you don't know about something. It's about the information you hold. Mm-hmm. And the logical next step is, as your knowledge updates, so does the probability you assign. It's like a dynamic mirror reflecting your understanding, constantly shifting as new information comes in.
Let's deepen that explanation of information flow, using the championship again. Before the season, that 35% probability, it wasn't just plucked from thin air, right? It was considered.
Based on what you knew.
It captured your uncertainty because your information was incomplete. You didn't know about potential injuries, maybe surprise performances from rookies, specific coaching calls and key moments, or even how good all the other teams would actually turn out to be that year.
All unknown.
Exactly. All that was unknown. And your 35% reflected that big gap in your knowledge. Now, fast forward again. After the win, your uncertainty about whether they won that specific 2025 championship just evaporates. Why? Because you have complete information about that outcome.
You saw the result.
You saw the final score, read the news, whatever. The outcome is settled. Your knowledge about it is complete. Now remember, all through this, the game was being played, decisions were made, things unfolded.
Yeah, the actual event happened.
Right. But your knowledge went from incomplete to complete. The probability didn't change because the event somehow changed its built-in likelihood. It changed because you changed. Your state of knowledge changed.
Okay.
So Harish concludes, probability tracks this change in knowledge, not a change in the event itself. That's a really powerful shift in how you look at it.
This really makes me pause and think, wow, it feels so natural, almost automatic to talk about the chance of rain tomorrow or the probability of a stock going up. Like, those numbers are just part of the weather or the market floating out there.
Mm-hmm. Very common.
But Harish is saying it's fundamentally about my information or your information. So here's the question then. Does that mean if I think there's a 35% chance the team wins and you think it's 40%, are we both sort of equally valid? Because we just have different info.
That's a great question. And it points towards...
But what does that mean for how we even talk about uncertainty? Especially when we disagree. It feels like when we state a probability, we should almost be implicitly saying, look, based on my current info, which isn't perfect, here's my level of uncertainty.
That's a much more accurate way to frame it, yes.
That's a massive mental shift from just throwing percentages around, isn't it? It might make us rethink debates where people just argue over probability numbers.
It absolutely should. And Harish builds on this beautifully with what he calls the singularity principle. He states it very clearly. Your favorite team winning the 2025 championship is a singular, unrepeatable event.
Singular, unrepeatable. Okay.
And this isn't just for big things like championships. He says this applies to every event, no matter how big or small. Think about a coin toss you just did, that specific toss, with its exact starting conditions, the air currents, how it landed. It's unique.
Right. You can't exactly replicate it.
Never exactly. Or, say, whether you missed your train this morning. That specific occurrence, that moment in time, it's unique. It happened once. Now it's a fact of the past.
Yeah.
It cannot be literally repeated with everything identical because time moves on, circumstances change, even subtly.
And connecting this back to the championship, when we think about the next year, 2026.
Ah, yes. Harish points out that even if we consider the 2026 championship for the same team, that is a completely separate event requiring its own probability assessment.
Right. It's not 2025 again.
Definitely not. You might assign new probability for 2026, maybe higher because they just won, they have momentum, or maybe lower if, say, their star player retired.
Sure.
But the crucial point is it concerns a different season with different players, different opponents, and different circumstances. It is fundamentally not the 2025 championship happening again. It's a new, unique event in the future. And to really clarify the difference between information and the identity of an event, think about how the 2025 win affects your thinking for 2026. The fact they won in 2025 provides incredibly valuable information. It strongly influences how you assess their 2026 chances. Maybe the team built great chemistry, players gained confidence, the coach proved their strategy.
All useful data points.
Exactly. This new information from the 2025 outcome informs your epistemic state for 2026. It shapes your beliefs, your starting point, your prior for the next season. However, and this is critical, each championship stands as a distinct event with its own associated uncertainty. It's not the same event repeating. The 2025 win is a piece of data, a historical fact that shapes your understanding of future different events.
Like learning from experience, but not rerunning the experience.
Perfectly put. The 2026 championship is unique, with its own unfolding factors, new draft picks, trades, opponent changes, injuries, team dynamics, all demanding a fresh assessment of your uncertainty about it. You're calculating probability for a new event. Informed by the past, yes, but still new.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. This idea of a singular, unrepeatable event. Wow. It makes so much sense when you stop and think. It's like saying, no two sunsets are truly identical, are they?
Good analogy.
Even if they look similar, the clouds, the light, the atmosphere, the exact moment, it's always unique, a unique occurrence. It makes me wonder, how often do we accidentally treat similar situations as if they are identical, and then we misapply past probabilities? Like saying, well, the last time I pitched this kind of client, it went this way, so it's 70% likely now.
Right, ignoring the difference.
Forgetting that this client is different, the market's changed, maybe I've changed how I present. This principle really pushes for a more nuanced, context-aware view of uncertainty, doesn't it? And less generalizing. Now, it's important to acknowledge, as Harish does, that probability isn't just one single idea. There are different interpretations, right? Different philosophical camps.
Oh, absolutely. A long history there.
He mentions the frequentists, for example. They're the ones focused on long-run patterns, yeah? Like, the probability of heads is 0.5, because if you could flip a coin infinitely, it would come up heads half the time.
That's the basic idea, yes. Based on frequency over many, many hypothetical trials.
But the tricky part there is applying it to a singular event, like one specific championship game or, say, launching a totally new product. You can't repeat that infinitely.
Exactly. That's a common critique of pure frequentism for unique events.
And then there are others talking about physical propensities, like some probabilities are just built into the way the physical world works.
Like an inherent tendency, yes.
Yeah.
But Harish is very clear about the framework he's using and why it aligns so well with this observer uncertainty view. He says, I adopt the Bayesian perspective here, which treats probability as quantifying an observer's degree of belief about uncertain outcomes.
Bayesian, okay, so degree of belief.
That's the core. It's the lens he uses for all this probabilistic reasoning. And he explains why this framework excels. It's built to handle partial information. And, crucially, it allows for belief updating as new evidence comes in.
Which fits the whole knowledge-changing idea.
Perfectly. Unlike frequentism, which often needs many repetitions, Bayesianism is designed for these singular events, where our beliefs get updated dynamically as we learn more, even if it's just a little bit more. It mirrors how we humans actually learn and adapt with messy, incomplete information.
Let's try and simplify Bayes' theorem a bit for everyone listening, because it sounds central here. The basic idea, it's actually pretty intuitive, isn't it? Even if the math can look scary.
It really is intuitive at its core.
You start with a prior probability. That's like your initial best guess. Your starting belief based on everything you know before getting new info. Your baseline uncertainty.
Starting point, exactly.
Then new evidence arrives. You get new data, observations, facts, context, anything relevant. And Bayes' theorem gives you a mathematical way to calculate an updated posterior probability. That's your new refined belief now incorporating that fresh information.
Right. Prior belief plus new evidence, posterior belief, essentially.
And here's the really neat part, right? This posterior probability, your new belief, it then becomes the prior for the next time you get information.
Exactly. It's a continuous cycle.
Creating this ongoing loop of learning and refining your understanding as more info flows in. Harish also notes that certainty represents probability at its extremes. belief of 1 or 0. So 100% sure it happened or 0% sure?
True or false, yeah.
But importantly, most real-world knowledge involves intermediate probabilities reflecting justified but incomplete information. We're usually somewhere in between 0 and 1, right? Living in those shades of gray. And Bayesian thinking helps us navigate that.
Absolutely. It's designed for that nuanced reality. Now, let's revisit the championship example again, but explicitly through this Bayesian lens. Your initial 35% probability for the team winning in 2025. That was your prior. It reflected your partial knowledge. All those unknowns about players, coaches, opponents we talked about. Your best guess, open to revision.
My starting point rank.
Then the team wins. That's incredibly powerful new evidence, definitive data for that specific event.
The ultimate update.
And at that moment, your belief updates to certainty. Probability 1, 100%. You know they won. No doubt. Harish emphasizes again. This transition represents a shift in your epistemic state, not a change in some objective property of the championship outcome.
Right, the win itself didn't change its likeliness. My knowledge did.
Precisely. The championship didn't morph from 35% likely to 100% likely. Your knowledge about it changed completely. The probability you assigned changed only because your information changed, from uncertainty to certainty, a direct result of Bayesian updating.
And within this Bayesian approach, that singularity principle, unique, unrepeatable events still holds strong, right?
Absolutely.
So while the 2025 win definitely influences how you think about future seasons like 2026,
it informs your prior for 2026.
Right. But the 2026 championship is still a separate, distinct event. It's not just 2025 again with a different number. It has its own unique circumstances, new player development, maybe different rivals, new strategies, all creating their own uncertainty that needs a fresh assessment. So your 2025 experience provides information for assessing future championship races, but the probability you assign to the 2026 contest addresses a distinct event with its own epistemic challenges. It feeds into your prior for the new event, but it's still a new event.
You're assessing a new future, informed by the past. That's the essence of it.
What's fascinating here is, well, how the Bayesian approach seems to formalize something we probably do informally all the time anyway, you know?
Like updating our opinions.
Yeah. Every time we change our mind based on new info about politics, a product, even just what a friend is doing this weekend, we're kind of doing a mini Bayesian update in our heads, aren't we? We start with what we think, get new info, adjust our belief.
It does seem to map onto rational learning quite well.
But it raises a really important, maybe slightly tricky question. If our beliefs are constantly updating, how do we ever know when we have enough information to actually act? Is there ever a point where you say, okay, info gathering done?
The threshold for action.
Or is it always just about getting uncertainty down to a level we're comfortable with for this decision, knowing we could always learn more? It highlights that tension between endless learning and the practical need to make a choice.
That's a very real tension. And it leads naturally into another crucial point Harish makes. Probability isn't just about prediction. Its roles are broader.
Okay.
He makes this very important point. Once an event's outcome is known, assigning forward-looking probabilities to that specific completed event loses predictive meaning. You wouldn't try to predict the probability of the 2025 win after it happened.
Right, it's done. The probability is 1 or 0 if they lost, for me, the informed observer.
Exactly. Prediction is off the table for that specific past event.
But Harish says that doesn't mean probability is useless after the fact.
Far from it. It still has crucial roles in other contexts, often overlooked ones. For instance, what he calls explanatory probabilities.
Explanatory. Okay, what's that?
These are used to reason about hidden causes of observed effects. Think about like an engineer diagnosing a machine failure.
Okay, complex machine breaks down. You see the effect it stopped.
Right. You see the breakdown, but you don't immediately see why. Maybe your team thinks it could be a worn bearing or a software bug or maybe human error. Based on past data, they might initially assign probabilities, say 40% bearing, 30% software, 30% operator.
Those are their initial beliefs about the cause, their epistemic state.
Precisely. Now, as they gather more data run tests, check logs, listen for noises, those probabilities shift. If the logs strongly suggest software, that 30% might jump way up, maybe to 80%, and the others drop.
Ah, so you're using probability to figure out the past cause.
Exactly. You're not predicting the past. You're explaining it. Using probability to assess the likelihood of different hidden causes for something you already observed. Incredibly useful for troubleshooting, diagnostics, root cause analysis, loads of fields.
Makes sense. And he mentions another type?
Yes. Counterfactual probabilities. These are used to explore alternative scenarios for learning and decision-making. This is the what-if stuff.
Okay, like looking back.
Often looking back, yeah, to learn. Imagine your company launched product A, and it did okay. Now you reflect. What was the probability that if we had launched product B instead, we'd have done much better?
You can't change the past. Product A was launched.
Right, the cast is fixed. But you're using probability to explore a hypothetical alternative to gain insights for future decisions. You assign a probability to that what-if outcome based on everything you know now, including how product A actually performed and maybe new market data. It's about understanding likely outcomes under different past conditions that didn't happen to learn and improve strategy. And what ties all these together, prediction, explanation, counterfactuals, is what Harish points out. These applications all involve managing uncertainty about things we do not fully know.
Uncertainty again.
Always. Whether it's an unknown future, a hidden cause in the past, or a hypothetical alternative, probability is our tool for navigating that incomplete knowledge, reasoning rationally when we don't know everything.
So pulling this together, it means probability isn't just some statistical fortune-telling device.
Not at all.
It's way more fundamental. A tool for understanding the past, troubleshooting problems now, learning from what-ifs. It makes probability feel much less like a scary math thing and more like a basic tool for thinking clearly. That's quite a shift. Now, we should probably tackle a counterargument Harish brings up. The idea some people have about objective chances embedded in physical reality.
Yes, the objective probability idea.
The view that the world itself just is probabilistic sometimes, regardless of what we know. Like maybe quantum mechanics suggests that things are inherently random.
That's often the example used, yes. Some interpretations suggest fundamental randomness, not just our ignorance.
So how does Harish's view probability as our uncertainty handle that?
He suggests that even these objective chances can be comfortably framed within the Bayesian epistemic perspective.
How so?
From this viewpoint, those objective chances, like, say, the decay rate of an atom, can be understood as rational betting odds conditioned on our best current knowledge about physical laws and initial conditions.
Okay, so if science discovers these fundamental probabilities,
then our belief in those scientific findings, our knowledge of those physical laws, becomes the basis for our probability assignments.
Yeah.
We're still assigning probabilities based on what we know about those physical chances.
I see. It still comes back to our knowledge.
Right. So Harish reiterates his core belief. From this epistemic perspective, probability fundamentally reflects our relationship to knowledge and uncertainty, not immutable features of external events. Even if the universe has randomness, our way of talking about it and using it is via our knowledge. It kind of bridges the objective and the epistemic.
And thinking of the practical side, this view has really significant implications for how we operate day to day, doesn't it?
Huge implications.
Firstly, it explains so clearly why different people assign different probabilities to the same event. It's simply because they possess different information.
Which happens all the time.
Yeah, like if I check my basic weather app and say 30% chance of rain, and you've looked at detailed meteorological charts and say 50%, we're not necessarily being irrational. We just have different info sets.
Oh, exactly. Maybe you know about a local microclimate, I don't. Or vice versa.
And understanding that changes the conversation, right? Instead of arguing who's right, it becomes, okay, what information do you have that I don't? Much more collaborative.
Definitely. It fosters inquiry, not just debate.
Secondly, it explains why probabilities seem to change over time. It's not the event fluctuating. It's that our knowledge evolves while events themselves follow deterministic or genuinely random processes. The event just is. Our understanding is what shifts.
Our knowledge catches up or gets refined.
And most importantly, Harish says, this view positions probability as a dynamic tool for rational reasoning under uncertainty, rather than a mysterious property that events carry through time. It makes it active, something we use, not something passive we just observe.
It puts agency back with the reasoner. And finally, Harish makes this absolutely crucial distinction. It's about probability versus decision.
Okay. The action part.
Yes. He points out that while our beliefs may remain probabilistic, we might genuinely think there's a 60% chance of rain or a 75% chance a project succeeds, reflecting our uncertainty.
We hold that nuanced view.
Right. But our decisions in the real world must ultimately resolve into binary choices. You don't make a 60% decision to take an umbrella.
No, you either take it or you don't. You don't 75% launch a product. You launch it or you don't.
Exactly. He uses simple examples. We decide to carry an umbrella or not, to take the highway or not, to treat a patient or not. These are definite actions, yes or no, commitments.
Right.
Our probabilistic beliefs inform those choices. They guide us, but the choices themselves are absolute. And here's the key insight, the punchline Harish delivers. Practical action demands that we collapse our probabilistic beliefs into definitive commitments.
Collapse the probability into a choice.
Wow. This means probability acts as a bridge. It helps us navigate that fuzzy world of uncertainty.
And leads us to a concrete action.
Precisely. We use our measure of uncertainty to make a clear move. It's the vital link between internal knowledge and external action. And this reinforces Harish's whole point. This reinforces that probability serves as a bridge between uncertainty and action, not as a property that events carry through time. It's our guide for acting in a world where we rarely know everything but still have to choose.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, wow, this really grounds probability in our own experience, our own responsibility. It's not just some number out there. It's a reflection of my knowledge, my uncertainty, which I then have to translate into a real-world choice.
It links knowledge to action.
That feels incredibly empowering, actually, knowing I have agency in how I use information. And also, yeah, a little daunting, too, because it puts the weight of the decision on me, acknowledging I'm always choosing with imperfect knowledge.
It emphasizes conscious decision-making under uncertainty.
It makes me wonder, how should we teach decision-making if probability is truly observer-dependent like this? Maybe it means focusing even more on critical thinking about our information sources and our own biases, not just the calculations.
That seems like a very logical consequence, yes. Understanding the inputs to our probability assessment becomes just as important as the calculation itself. This epistemic view really does transform how we think about uncertainty and prediction.
It does.
Instead of always looking for probabilities out there somewhere, trying to find some fixed number attached to an event, we recognize them for what they are. Essential dynamic tools for managing our own knowledge, and maybe even more importantly, managing our own ignorance.
Right, a tool for dealing with what we don't know.
Exactly, allowing us to act rationally, purposefully, even when faced with incomplete information.
It reminds me of that wonderful quote from Pierre-Simon Laplace, the famous scholar involved in developing probability theory. Harish cites him, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Probability theory is nothing but common sense reduced to calculation.
That quote just perfectly captures the pragmatic, human-centered, rational approach that Harish is advocating for here.
Yeah.
Once we really embrace probability as a measure of what we know, rather than some mysterious property of events themselves, we can use it much more effectively, more precisely, as the rational tool it was always meant to be.
A guide for navigating complexity.
A powerful engine for informed decisions and rational action in an uncertain world.
And if you, listening, want to dive even deeper into these kinds of ideas, you can find more of Harish's really insightful writing and reflections on his blog. Just search online for Harish's Notebook, or you can visit harishnotebook.wordpress.com.
Well worth checking out.
Definitely. And he's also part of that fantastic community we mentioned earlier, CyberSyn, which extends this kind of thinking, bringing people together. You should check out CyberSyn, that's spelled CYB3RSYN. Right. Yeah. It's a really vibrant community with exclusive resources, books, podcasts, forums, a great place to continue your learning journey and connect with others passionate about systems thinking, cybernetics, statistics, all this stuff.
A great resource.
So, as Harish himself often concludes, always keep learning.
Indeed, yeah.
And we'll see you on the next Duke Dive.